Welcome. Today, we're diving into a bold and controversial idea that could fundamentally reshape how Americans pay taxes and how the government collects its revenue. The American tax system has long been a source of debate, frustration, and political wrangling. But now, a new proposal is making waves in Washington and across the country. A proposal that could upend the way we think about taxes altogether. Former President Donald Trump has floated the idea of eliminating the federal income tax for most Americans. Instead, he suggests the government could fund its operations by collecting tariffs on imported goods, essentially shifting the tax burden from workers' paychecks to foreign products entering the U.S. This isn't just a minor adjustment to the tax code, it's a sweeping plan to throw out the current system, erase the familiar IRS forms, and start from scratch with a brand new approach. The promise behind this idea is simple and appealing. No more federal income tax for workers. That could mean bigger paychecks, less paperwork, and a sense of financial relief for millions of Americans. Supporters even envision the government sending out refund checks, funded by the money raised from tariffs, putting extra cash directly into people's hands. The plan also aims to make imported goods more expensive, which could encourage consumers to buy American-made products and give a boost to domestic manufacturing. By making imports pricier, the hope is that companies will bring jobs back to the U.S., strengthening local industries and creating new opportunities for American workers. Supporters see this as a path toward greater economic independence, revitalized communities, and a more prosperous middle class. They argue that this could help families keep more of what they earn and build a brighter future for the next generation. But critics are raising serious concerns. They warn that higher tariffs could lead to increased prices on everyday goods, spark trade wars with other countries, and ultimately hurt American consumers. There are also fears that relying on tariffs might not generate enough revenue to fund essential government services, leading to budget shortfalls and tough choices in Washington. The big question: can tariffs really replace the trillions of dollars currently collected through income taxes? Economists and policy experts are divided, and the stakes couldn't be higher. In this video, we'll break down the facts, examine the arguments on both sides, and explore what this radical change could mean for you, your family, and the future of America's economy. What is a tariff? Simply put, it's a tax on imported goods. For example, a 10% tariff on a $40,000 German car adds $4,000 to its price. The importer pays the tax, but that cost is usually passed down to you, the consumer. Tariffs have two main purposes: raising government revenue and protecting domestic industries by making foreign goods more expensive. Trump's plan would make tariffs the main source of federal revenue, taxing nearly all imports. Supporters argue this could generate enough money to replace income taxes for most Americans. But remember, higher tariffs mean higher prices for everyday goods. The more we rely on imports, the more we'd feel the impact at the checkout. This is the heart of the debate: who really pays and who really benefits? Let's look at how this would affect American households. The federal income tax is the government's largest revenue source, funding everything from defense to Social Security. It's progressive, higher earners pay a bigger share, but nearly half of American households pay no federal income tax, thanks to deductions and credits. For these families, eliminating the income tax offers no direct benefit. In fact, if tariffs raise prices, their cost of living could go up without any tax relief. Middle and upper income households, who do pay significant income taxes, stand to gain the most from this plan. The promise: more take-home pay, possibly offsetting higher prices. But for many, especially those already paying little or no income tax, the trade-off could be tough. The impact would depend on your income, spending habits, and how much you rely on imported goods. Imagine a future where the federal income tax is gone for good, a radical shift in how America funds its government. The boldest version of this plan would completely eliminate the federal income tax, replacing it with a national consumption tax collected primarily through tariffs on imported goods. This idea has been debated for decades, but what would it really mean for everyday Americans and the country as a whole? Instead of taxing what you earn from your job or investments, the government would tax what you buy, especially when it comes to imported products. Every time you purchase a foreign-made item, a portion of that price would go directly to the government in the form of a tariff. This would fundamentally change the way taxes are collected and who ends up paying the most. High earners and diligent savers could benefit the most under this system, since their income, investments, and savings would no longer be taxed. People who are able to save or invest a large portion of their earnings would see their wealth grow faster, untouched by federal income taxes. This could encourage more saving and investment, potentially boosting economic growth for some. But for lower and middle-income families, who typically spend a larger share of their income on everyday essentials like food, clothing, and household goods, the impact could be much harsher. If prices rise due to new tariffs, these families might find it even harder to make ends meet, as more of their limited income would go toward basic needs. Even if you try to buy American-made products, you might not be able to avoid these new taxes. Many goods labeled "Made in USA" still rely on imported parts or materials, meaning tariffs could be hidden in the final price of countless everyday items, from cars to smartphones to kitchen appliances. The current income tax system, for all its flaws, allows the government to offer targeted relief, like credits for low-wage workers, deductions for families with children, or incentives for charitable giving. These tools help direct support to those who need it most, and encourage positive behaviors in society. A tariff-only system, by contrast, is blunt and inflexible. It treats everyone the same at the cash register, making it much harder to provide extra help to the elderly, struggling families, or those living in poverty. The risk is that the most vulnerable could be left behind. Replacing the income tax isn't just a question of how the government collects revenue, it's also about losing a powerful tool for shaping social policy and addressing inequality. Lawmakers would have fewer options to help specific groups or respond to economic crises. So the big question remains, can a one-size-fits-all tariff system ever be truly fair? Or would it simply shift the burden in ways we can't yet predict? The debate over ending the income tax is far from over, and its consequences could touch every American. Here's the trillion-dollar question: can tariffs really replace the income tax? It's an idea that's been debated for generations, but is it actually possible, or just wishful thinking? Let's break down the numbers and see what's really at stake. Every year, the US government collects about $2.5 trillion from income taxes. That's money that pays for everything from highways to schools to national defense. Meanwhile, the US imports roughly $3 trillion worth of goods from around the world. At first glance, it might seem like there's enough trade to tax, but the math isn't so simple. To generate the same revenue as income taxes, tariffs would need to average over 80% on all imported goods, assuming, of course, that Americans keep buying the same amount of imports. But that's a big assumption. High tariffs usually mean higher prices, and that can change consumer behavior fast. Supporters of high tariffs argue that this would encourage companies to bring manufacturing back to the US, creating new jobs and boosting local economies. They believe that over time, this could generate new tax revenue from increased employment and business activity, making up for the loss of income tax. But critics warn that such steep tariffs would likely cause imports to plummet. With fewer goods coming in, the tax base would shrink dramatically. At the same time, prices on everyday items, from electronics to groceries, could skyrocket, putting a strain on families and businesses alike. There's also the risk of retaliation. Other countries could respond with their own tariffs, making it harder for American farmers and manufacturers to sell their products abroad. This could lead to job losses and even more economic pain, especially in export-dependent industries. The bottom line, trying to replace the income tax with tariffs is a risky gamble. It could backfire, damaging the very economy it's supposed to help, and leaving businesses and workers caught in the crossfire. The math is daunting, and the economic risks are real. Even experts struggle to find a scenario where tariffs alone could fill the gap without major side effects. So, is the potential reward worth the gamble? Or are we risking more than we stand to gain by making such a dramatic shift in tax policy? Next, let's take a closer look at how this bold idea could impact your daily life, your wallet, and the choices you make every day. What would this mean for you? If you work overtime, you'd keep every dollar, no federal tax taken out. Supporters say this would motivate people to work more and boost productivity, but nearly everything you buy, phones, clothes, even food, relies on imports. Tariffs would make these goods more expensive, raising your cost of living. Would your extra take-home pay cover the higher prices? Charitable giving could also drop since tax deductions for donations would disappear. Big purchases, like cars, could get much pricier. Foreign models especially, but even American brands use imported parts. The bottom line, you'd have more money in your paycheck, but you'd pay more at the store. Every family would have to weigh the trade-offs. Is the promise of no income tax worth the higher prices? Experts are divided, and the debate is heating up across the nation. Supporters see a chance for explosive economic growth and a bold declaration of economic independence for the country. They argue tariffs could force other countries to play by new rules and potentially revive American industry and jobs. Skeptics warn the math doesn't work. Tariffs this high could crush imports, spike prices, and hurt the most vulnerable Americans. Replacing the income tax would be a massive, complex undertaking, with risks of chaos, confusion, and uncertainty. Even fans of the idea admit it's more a bold vision for the future than a ready-to-implement plan. The stakes are enormous, and the crucial details remain unresolved for now. Trump's tax proposal is one of the most radical economic ideas in recent memory, sparking intense debate across the nation. It promises a future with no income tax, booming manufacturing, and bigger paychecks for hardworking Americans everywhere. The potential upsides are huge: more jobs, more take-home pay, and a stronger, more resilient middle class. But the risks are just as big: trade wars, inflation, and a funding gap for essential government services. The core question remains: can we really swap income taxes for tariffs without harming the economy in the long run? This debate is about more than numbers. It's about America's future and the direction we want to take as a nation. Will we choose a bold new path or stick with the system we know and trust? The decision will shape the country for generations to come, impacting every American.